might not take you, still sometimes shoot an email for an internship position. Like if you see some person like, okay, maybe in the future I want to work with them, then just shoot an email that, okay, like, can I work with you now? Because even if it doesn't work out, like they might say no, but some people will respond and like they will know that yeah, this person had talked to me, they had applied to me, and that kind of basically removes the necessity for an ice-breaking conversation later on. Like you don't have to be like, okay, hello, I am this person and I want a PhD position. Like you'll be like, okay, like do you remember me? Now I'm applying for a PhD position, and that way you already have built a connection there. So that's fairly all. Like because German positions usually just care about like your research and like how well do you fit in. They're happy to give you money because that's kind of Hello.
Hello, hi. How's it going there?
Yeah, pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm great. I'm great. Um, so I think it's around 2 o'clock in Munich, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it's great to have you. I mean, so the so the first thing, I mean, the first thing I would like to ask you is a little bit about your life at IISER. I mean, IISERs have a hectic schedule. So how did you manage? I mean, before choosing your major at IISER, Mohali?
Yeah. Well, like before I go into my stuff, I would definitely say that, like, to preface it, right now, like having everything online is definitely much more difficult because I understand, like, there, if you're staring at the screen continuously for a long time, it is difficult to focus for on that and like deal with the exhaustion of just like straining your eyes for so long. So yeah, that is another dimension, and like I would not like I've not gone through that, and you guys are going through it. So like that is a difficulty, and like that's something you should keep in mind. And like it is, so my all my things may not translate well to such an experience. But anyway, like first things first, it is that initially the core years will feel very difficult, but when once you go to the major years, you'll be like, oh no, the core years were pretty easy. And that's probably because you have figured out how to handle things in such a way that now what was difficult for you is now easy. But how exactly do you get there? And for me, I guess there was nothing, like there's no magic trick with me as such. It was simple in the sense that I was just trying to attend as many classes as I wanted, even if I was, say, I was sleepy or I was bored of the subject or I did not like the subject. That all was immaterial. Even then, I would focus on attending the classes and at least try taking notes. And again, yeah, taking notes is an issue even in online classes because sometimes the professors will go through slides very fast or whatever. But
Right.
at least it is recommended that at least you note down like, okay, this is the topic that was covered and today in this class, and um, have basically a brief of what was happening during the class. And like that's like the most simple thing to do just to stay on track of how this semester is going. Apart from that, yeah, like there are the general stuff, like if you have assignments, even if you can't solve it, and you look for other sources or you ask your friends, and whatever you do, you in the end just write down everything, like what all solutions you got for it, so that in the end when you're preparing for exams, like even for us, we were preparing for the exams, say if the exam is next week, this is when we would start thinking about preparing, not even go into the preparation mode yet. But anyway, for that time, you would have like your notes, your assignments written down, and everything. Then you don't even have to refer to the book, the reference books that are said, because then you already have a condensed version of the course in your notes and assignments. So that helps, and that because in the end there will be subjects and courses which you do not like at all, but they are still going into your transcript, so you still have to put effort to it, so at least you can be done with it even if you do not like uh, doing it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I guess there's no simple solution, or there's nothing that is missing or not in front of your eyes, but it's still doable.
Yeah, I get that, right. I mean, I have a hard time studying biology sometimes, but I think what you said, I
Yeah.
think I understand a lot of it. So did you do any internships in your first year at IISER?
Yeah, again and again, this thing will come up. The Because of the pandemic, things have changed quite a bit, and like because people are starting the semesters late, so your summers are also being covered by like the second semester, or like depending on whatever year you are in. But yeah, like before the pandemic, we were like doing at least something, a little bit of work during the first year itself, the first summer break that we had. So like a lot of people would just do something minor, say for example just a reading project with a professor at their own institute, or something small, nothing too big, or nothing which would be like leading to a very serious research project, like that. Usually that's the case. Like it was just to get you an idea about the subject, on not something that was very in depth in research and everything. So I was a bit, I would say I got lucky in the sense that I was able to visit TIF Mumbai for my first internship, and there I worked in not in astrophysics, which is my current field, but I worked in experimental soft condensed matter physics. And I was able to also get lab experience, which is again rare for the first summer. And yeah, that was lucky and that was interesting. I was able to get to know about a topic that I previously had no clue about. And while I did not obviously pursue the same subject, it was good to be around the people there and get that experience of going out somewhere. But yeah, at the moment things are different. You could be paced differently. You would be doing remote projects or stuff like that, or nothing at all in the first summer, and then see like, and
Yeah,
that's okay. Like that's fine, because like I said, the first summer is usually us just seeing around and what all topics are there, and just doing something for the sake of doing it and getting an idea like, okay, this is what's happening in the subject.
yeah. Some of us might, say feel like jealous of or envy you because you actually got to get a hands-on experience, but we don't even have a break. We have 3 semesters this year, actually 3.5 semesters this year, and it's just
Yeah.
completely. I mean, it's all remote, and the lectures are back to back, and I mean, the break is going on right now,
Hmm.
but a lot of things are moving very fast. Moving on from your,
Yes.
yeah, moving on from this, tell us about your journey. I mean, making a strong SOP. I mean, it's hard to apply. Even like people try to apply, but then they think that's a lengthy process. They back down or something like that. So tell us about how many institutes you apply to and how did you make a strong SOP and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, that's the thing. Like applying to for PhD positions is actually quite hectic, and I know quite a few people who instead focus on like just finishing their master's thesis properly in the fifth year, in the final year, and then like going for applications like after graduating. So they spend 1 year for solely dedicated to PhD admissions. And I had a somewhat similar plan in the sense that I was like, okay, if I want to apply for PhD admissions, I cannot really study for the competitive exams for applying for Indian PhD positions. Uh, so there was a trade-off. Either I could study for the Indian PhD competitive exams like CSR, NET, and IIT JAM, things like that, or I could like focus on applying outside India. And I was because I was like, okay, why not just try one thing? And I decided to apply outside India. And for that, I was planning to apply to like 10 places, but then like in the US, I was able to like talk to the some departments and like attend a few events. So they basically removed the application fee for me. They waived it in some more places. So I ended up applying, I guess, to about 13 or 14 places in total. And
Okay.
the process of writing the SOP is definitely like it's a lot, because you are basically trying to note down everything that has led to the point of applying to that particular university, and like why are you applying it, why are you doing the things you have been doing, and why do you want to do what, like what's your plan after coming to that university. So that's exhausting. And I tried to, like, obviously there's the usual thing about like making your family and friends read it, read your SOP. But I was worried that there might be biases involved. So I did something which I guess is a bit, uh, I guess, courageous, or I don't know, foolish. I'm not sure how you'll take it, but I basically asked professors, and one of them even connected me to a PhD student of the universities that I was applying to. That okay, I'm applying to like this is what I'm writing down. Like I want to work with you or work on similar topics. So what do you think? Like, is this really something that would like seem like a good SOP to you? And obviously, a lot of people won't reply to such a request. And but there were some nice people involved, like some like a couple of professors and even one PhD student who went sentence by sentence marking like okay these are the things that are okay for writing in a like which are understandable for an American audience, and these are the kind of wordings that you need to use for an European audience and things like that. And she like uh, corrected almost every sentence and helped me make it much better. And so that was how like I framed the American SOP, which was mostly because they did not have a separate research statement in most universities I applied to. Then in Europe, in places like Germany, I applied to just two programs. The Max Planck institutes and in general have this program called the International Max Planck Research School on different topics, where what they do is that they take all the institutes and all the researchers in one city working on a common topic, and they hire PhD students for that directly. So there was one on IMPRS on astronomy in Heidelberg, and one in IMPRS on astrophysics here in Munich. So I applied for these two, and they needed a research statement only. Like they did not want to see a lot of text. They just wanted to see a few words about what you're interested in, what you would be doing. And even for this, I talked to the professors that I was applying to that this is what I want to write, and they made suggestions, and that's how I ended up like writing for these programs. And in a way that's good. Like usually in Europe you will see that there are the PhD positions are given on a rolling basis. Like whenever a professor has a project, they call for an open position. But as international applicants we might miss that sometimes. So applying to these IMPRS programs has actually been made things easier. So that was nice. But of course, like even then, like even in our institute right now, the professors do take students on a rolling basis as well. But
Okay.
yeah, that's about how it's been so far.
Like, so you had submitted like around 13 applications. You must have been
Yeah,
rejected by a few, right? How did you
yeah,
handle those
definitely. I
rejections? Yeah.
The thing is, the rejections were going to happen, and again, like I mentioned earlier, this will be a recurring thing. There was the same villain in play again, the pandemic, because of which there was like for subjects in like say for example astronomy, high energy physics, even theoretical physics and pure mathematics. These subjects which usually did not have like which were not in the applied region were basically reduced in funding to basically boost, say, for example, biochemistry, biomedical sciences, and PhD positions in those. And there were people who were not able to graduate on time. So, because the universities were supporting them, the funding for hiring new students was reduced in a lot of places. So, because of all these things, it was already known that there will be a lot of rejections, and some of the rejections were basically of the sort that the professor is ready to hire, the department is ready to hire, but they don't have money. So
Right. Like,
that does sting, but in the end it's fine. Like you have to while applying, like the reason why I applied to 13 14 places is to ensure I get at least one. And sometimes given the current scenario, like because the pandemic has been like still going on, even that has been a hardship for a few people from what I've seen. So I would say I got like about from the 14 or so, I got like 3 acceptances, and I withdrew my application for one, and the rest, I guess, 10 were rejections. So that happens. That's a lot of rejections, but it is not as high as what it can usually be.
Right. Okay. I get that
Yeah.
actually. So how does a typical day or a week look like for you? I mean, starting from the morning until the evening.
Yeah, so right now it is like because our work schedules are pretty flexible. Like for example, my supervisor is pretty chill about the work as long as she doesn't care when I come to the institute, when I leave, but as long as I get the work done by the time the next like I'm progressing by the time our group meetings or our one-on-one meetings happen. So as long as that's done, it's she's happy. And the institute has basically said that if you want, you can take a course to learn about the German language. Then, we will pay for it. You don't have to worry about it. So I decided no harm in learning a language, and thus I usually in a week we have two classes in the morning on Mondays and Wednesdays where we we learn the German language. And apart from that, the usual schedule is that we just I wake up. If I have classes, I attend those. Like after getting ready and everything, because the classes are still online for us, we either attend it from home or I come to the institute and attend it. Then at 10:30, the institute has this tradition of having coffee together. So we have a huge garden, so people just gather around and have coffee together. Somebody may bring biscuits and things like that. So at around 10:30 we have that chit chat about like our research, things beyond our research, like what are we doing, and what are maybe plans for a trip or plans for a movie, something like that. And about 11:30 by then we return to our work and work till say 1 o'clock, have lunch, then it's back to work. Or sometimes we also attend conferences, seminars and talks, which are a regular feature on most of the days in the week. But obviously you can't attend everything, so you have to pick and choose what you want to attend. And by evening, like it depends on when I start, like how much work I have. Sometimes I may stay a bit longer, but usually never beyond 6:30 p.m. And by then I just go back, freshen up, like talk to your parents, to friends and everything. And maybe like then obviously because we are like cooking for ourselves, so we have to cook dinner, cook the next day's lunch as well. And then basically just relax, maybe watch something. And even I purchased a guitar here, so sometimes I can play that as well, and that's about it. So it is not too hectic, a bit of a bit of a fixed routine, but still there's quite a lot of things that's happening to keep it interesting.
Right. Your day sounds pretty exciting as compared to mine. Um, how do you meet with your daily needs? What is the stipend? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, so the thing is, usually in natural sciences, if you are being hired, they would give you a stipend on which you can be financially independent. uh, and but yeah, the stipend value varies from place to place, often because of the cost of living of that place. Like for example, if a place is much costlier than another, they would pay you more. It's not like regardless of the place you would be paid uniformly, because then some people would be suffering and some people would be having a lot of money. So for example, Munich is a very costly city. So like if you are staying in Munich, you have to pay quite a bit for rent and everything. So taking everything into account, like they pay us around 1,820 euros per month, like at for the first year, and then it goes up a bit for the from second year onwards. Um, and it is assumed that you spend about 500 to 800 euros on per month on say your rent and everything, another 500 for your daily needs like food and toiletries and miscellaneous stuff, groceries and everything. So that by the end of the month, like even if you don't have any big spendings, you can easily save about 400 euros per month, which is fairly good. Like, and if you are if you have if you're able to manage the finances better, you can even save around 600 euros per month. But yeah, that depends. Like it can you'll have to take into account a few more things here and there.
Right.
But yeah, like it is not something that is not doable, because um, the apartment that I shifted to, it did not have any furniture. So we bought furniture from IKEA, and like we also got other things. Like me and my roommate and I, like we purchased electric guitars and all the equipment that comes with it. So it is fine. Like it's not an issue as such. But yeah, like in the savings that you do in Europe on the stipends in Europe are definitely much more comfortable than most other places. So that's also something to take into account.
Right. Because a lot of people like my batchmates, they worry about the pay of a scientist, especially when they compare that of an Indian scientist and a foreign scientist. So I mean, to what extent is this worry legitimate?
Yeah, it is like somewhat legitimate, but there are like a bit more caveats attached to what's happening there. Like directly comparing the salaries is problematic, because you have to take into account things like the purchasing power parity and other, like the costs of living and everything. And in that context, if you compare a scientist in a good institute in Germany and a scientist in a good institute, like say universities like IISER or IITs or research institutes like IUCA Pune, if you compare them, then yes, even then the Indian scientists are being paid a bit less, but it's not too bad. Like it is fairly decent if even in that comparison. Like uh, even for Indian standards, the Indian scientists in these places are earning well. The problem is that these positions in these institutions are not that many. So what India suffers in is not just that it is paying less. It is that even if there are like a lot of openings, like even now, even the most well-established institutions like say IIT Bombay or IISER Pune is still running with less than the number of faculty members they actually need according to their requirements. And the issue is that they are simply not able to hire that many people. And the larger issue is that other universities, except a few elite ones, are not being do not have enough funding to basically support paying higher to their scientists. And like it is a bit unfortunate. Like we are hoping that now, because of things like COVID gave us a kind of like a wake up call that we do need more investment in science and research, and like people wanting change in the form of like everyone wants something from the NEP policy that was released, and we don't know how that will play out. But yeah, like it is important that like people actually are aware of these things, because initially when the IISERs formed, like for 5 6 years, things were looking up. They were improving their this salaries and everything for scientists, and the positions that were opening up was a boom, which then basically started fizzling out, leading to even situations where for brief moments of time we had very good institutions like TIFR Mumbai and even the entire CSR basically being on the verge of bankruptcy, in the sense that they did not have enough money to pay anyone. But yes, they were able to recover from that, and there are things that are looking up. So it is not so gloomy as such, because after so like 6 7 years of things just being downhill, eventually that people have been like the universities and scientists are like putting pressure on the government. But it will definitely help if the people actually also focus on this. But as for juniors at IISER worrying about it, well, the one of the key things I will tell is that not just in India but outside India as well, the majority of PhD students anyway are not employed as scientists or professors. So there are a lot more avenues. Like if money is an issue, there will be avenues. From in my own field in astrophysics, the majority of people who leave astrophysics, and that is a majority of PhD holders do leave. Like for any university, it's around 60% of the PhD holders are probably not going to remain in research. That is expected in astrophysics. They do because they get paid much better for doing many different things instead of just staying in research. So it is not something that is the only like becoming a scientist is not the only pathway. And even if you do, there are scopes of like there are positions available, and it looks like there might be more positions in the future.
Right. I went through an interview once, and in that, there was this person who was an engineer, I think, in computer science, and he said that his salary was somewhere around 2,100 euros, and a fully skilled carpenter had a salary of around 2,000 euros per month. So in Germany, so I was like, okay, in Germany things are
Yeah,
definitely
Germany definitely pays much better. Like right now, I'm receiving 1,800 euros per month, so that's okay. And there are being talks that okay, the last few years, even Germany has been seeing a rise in costs, living costs in cities like Munich and Berlin. So they might even Max Planck Society might even increase the salaries of PhD students and postdocs.
right. Okay. I understand that. How much do grades matter for someone who's in first year, second year? Like initially, it's not necessary that everybody will be getting great grades, even though they're hardworking. I mean, it's hard to cope up with biology and chemistry and other
Yeah.
subjects as well. So, how much do they matter in the initial stage?
Yeah, the thing is like in the long run, it definitely doesn't matter too much, but it definitely makes things easier in the sense that you do not have to at any point worry that okay, this might be an issue for me. And if your core years are fairly decent, it can basically absorb any issue that might happen during the major years, because like I said earlier, the major years are going to be much more hectic than the core years. So it helps, but then it comes that what exactly is like a good grade or something. And usually I like, depending on what I see is like looked at by others who are not aware of your system, is that unless there is like very extreme grading, like no, very few people going even above 9, if that kind of grading exists, then obviously the perspective changes. But usually on an average, it is seen that on a scale of 10, if you are at say 8 or more than 8, then that's good enough. Like you do not have to be too much worried. uh, where the grades do help is like, say for example, if you're applying for the DAD wise internship, they care a lot about the grades, because they basically look at just the for like for each department, for each subject, they look at the first few people in terms of their grades and then just take it. But still, like that's just one internship position, so overall it doesn't really matter too much. And you can like you do not have to be at the top of the class to basically think that you would get a good position. Like it's fine, you don't have to aim that high.
All right, I understand. What
Yeah.
kind of advice would you like to give to someone who's willing to apply for PhD program in Germany specifically?
Okay. Yeah. So, this is like not just Germany, but I guess in many other places, that whatever you're working on for internships, like do not worry too much about where you're doing it, who you're doing it with. Don't worry about all those things. Focus on like what exactly are you working on? Like what would you be working on? What kind of skills would does it require, and what kind of skills you will develop after, at the end of that project or whatever it is. And basically how well does it connect with your interests. Like if you have done that internship and 1 year later someone asks you like why did you do it, then you can justify like this is my interest, and this is what I wanted to learn, and this is what I got from it. And is because all of these things will matter when you're applying, and they will look at it like they want to see coherence between like your interests and what you're doing. Secondly, like maybe like if you can, even if it's like something organized by a club or something, try to give a talk or two of like say your internship work or something. Because often what will happen is that if a potential supervisor wants to take you, they'll be like, okay, so what have you been working on for your master's thesis, or what is the favorite project you have worked on, can you give us a short 5 or 10 minute presentation on it. So if you it's the first time that you're presenting, if you're doing it in front of someone like that, you will be very scared, so it's better to get some practice on that. And yeah, like I would also say, or you know that they might not take you, still sometimes shoot an email for an internship position. Like while if you see some person like, okay, maybe in the future I want to work with them, then just shoot an email that, okay, like can I work with you now? Because even if it doesn't work out, like they might say no, but some people will respond and like they will know that yeah, this person had talked to me, they had applied to me, and that kind of basically removes the necessity for an ice breaking conversation later on. Like you don't have to be like, okay, hello, I am this person and I want a PhD position. Like you'll be like, okay, like do you remember me? Now I'm applying for a PhD position, and that way you already have built a connection there. So that's fairly all. Like they, because German positions usually just care about like your research and like how well do you fit in. They're happy to give you money because the Max Planck Society gets a lot of funding from the German government. So otherwise, you don't have to worry about the other details that much.
Right. So if one is interested in something and wants to pursue it, they will get out of their way to to hit that target. I mean, even if they get
Yeah.
rejections, they will be persistent enough to just keep trying. So I think that makes
Yeah.
a lot of sense. Right. Yeah. People forget that, but that's the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah, usually it's the simpler answers, but like we ignore them, but it is
Yeah.
how it is.
Because sometimes they're looking for certain things and we already know them. Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was a great conversation. I really enjoyed and learned a lot. I hope you enjoyed it too. And
Yeah,
thank
yeah,
you for
definitely.
thank you for joining me with this.
Yeah, yeah. Happy to answer your questions. And obviously, like people can reach out to me, like they can search me on Twitter, or like even my website is available. And like even in the future, if there is any help or support that's needed, I'm happy to like try to at least contribute in any way that's possible.
Yeah, I'll leave those links in the description boxes. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. So that's it. Thank you. Have a great
Yeah.
day. Bye.
Yeah, you too. Bye.